Well, here we are with the amazing LauraPlumb. Thank you. It is just an honor to interview you today.
It's an honor to be with you, Sandra.
You know, we're at the International Yoga Festival,
Yeah.
so you play a pivotal role in the Yoga Festival. You're here every year since 2008.
Yes.
Why do you come?
Why not, as Swamiji would say, why not, Jesus? Why not? I feel like I can't not come. I come because, as Sadhvi will often say, we are called to come. Certainly by the time you arrive here, you really feel, yes, this was a calling, and we're called home. Originally, it looked like, it'd be interesting to go see where yoga comes from. Or it would be a great adventure to go to India and go to Rishikesh and go up to see the Ganges and these mythic mountains of the Himalayas. But once you get here, you find yourself dropped into such a state of deep stillness and peace. And you sit by the banks of the Ganges River, they call her Ma Ganga, and you feel so loved and so held and so embraced and so welcomed that it just feels so right. And I find that every year I just have to come. I've been asking a lot of people here the same question, because there are a lot of people who come back year after year. And I'll say to them, I'll ask them, why do you come? And everybody seems to feel the same. There's something you get from being here. It's like it just juices you up. It's so nourishing. It fills you with what we call Shakti, this presence of being one with the divine. And that seems to last. You take that home with you, and it lasts about 6 months. And then you've got 6 months where you can't wait to come back.
Yes.
Of course it lasts longer. It does change you in a certain way. It teaches you that you are part of the whole. You're an integral part of the whole. We know that as yoga teachers, but here you have a really deep felt experience of it all the time, 24/7. And to feel the wholeness within and surrounded by wholeness and part of the loving wholeness that is the all, that does go with you wherever you go from this day forward. And wherever you go, it's like Ganga is with you.
Yes.
And you can take that back to the world.
Could you talk a little bit about the work you do in LA and the work that you actually bring here as a teacher to the festival?
So my work is, I do work as a yoga teacher. I'm more now teaching at festivals and doing trainings and online courses. I don't have day-to-day or weekly classes anymore. I teach and help people with yoga sadhana, yoga therapy, yoga for better living. More often than that, people come to me for consults in Ayurveda. I practice and teach Ayurveda, and I've been doing that now for over a decade. And I also practice Jyotish, which is the Vedic astrology that helps. I always say, if Ayurveda helps us remember that we are nature, and that nature is phenomenal power, and you are that, Jyotish helps us remember that we are the cosmos. We are a pattern of light and energy, and we are born to know that we are the all in the one. That's my work. I come here to teach. I come here to teach at the festival. I teach Ganga Yoga, which Swamiji, who's the founder and the spiritual head of this ashram where the festival is held, he asked me about 3-4 years ago to create something called Ganga Yoga, to teach, he said, to teach people about Ganga and to teach people to be more like Ganga.
I love that. I have to tell you, after being here in Rishikesh last year, I felt so deeply connected to Ma Ganga. In India, they consider this Ganges River the mother, the source of life. And so when I'm back home in the US, in LA, when disturbances happen or problems present themselves or obstacles, I take a moment and I visualize the Ganges River and I ask myself, if I offer this problem to the Ganges River, will it in any way alter the river's course? This makes me cry.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Never have I heard a yes. Always I've heard, no, if this problem is going to resolve itself, it's so small, it probably wouldn't even alter a drop of the flow of the Ganges River.
Beautiful.
So back to Ganga Yoga. So tell us, what is Ganga Yoga?
Well, I'm curious then, how does it make you feel to know that?
You know, it instantly puts things in perspective. It maybe doesn't take them away, but it somehow decreases my stress. It's almost like an offering. It's being right-sized. It's putting things in perspective, because I found that when challenges present themselves, it's very easy for consciousness to shrink down to the size of the problem, which is not where the solution lies. And so for me, it's so helpful to visualize the power and force of this incredible river from the Himalayas.
Right.
And, having spent some time there, it's really in me. And having spent some time
Right.
in the river, it's
Right.
in me.
Yes.
And so it just really right-sizes the problem, and it makes it feel more manageable. And it also right-sizes me. Because we, too, have a point in nature. Like nature doesn't revolve around us.
Right. Yes.
It's easy to feel that way sometimes, but anyway, that's the practice.
Well, it doesn't revolve around us, but it does respond to us, and we are part of it.
Yeah.
So rather than it doesn't revolve around us, but we revolve with it.
Yeah.
And it revolves, right? Because what creates nature is the revolution of the earth around the sun. And that's what creates seasons, and seasons that create food and beauty and the bounty of nature. And it sounds to me like that experience that you are sharing is really about remembering yourself as part of nature, as part of its flow.
Yes.
And then you can trust, all things will work out. Swamiji says, let go and let Ganga. And he'll often say, Ganga gives and she gives and she gives without reservation, without hesitation, without vacation. And so Ganges is really about learning to give, learning to be in service to the world, learning to surrender the ego and let divine grace flow through your life. And you just gave a perfect example. Imagine yourself sitting by this great river. You don't even have to have ever been here. Imagine a great flowing river, and you sit there and you offer the river your problems. What happens? I can't say what's going to happen, because it'll happen differently for each one of us. But something will happen that will resolve the problem or resolve your feelings around the problem.
Right.
And so that's what I mean by, once you've come here and you've participated in the festival or you've sat by the banks of the Ganges, some part of you is forever changed, because it does live inside you then, just as you've said. I can close my eyes and I just feel that stream of grace instantly, no matter where I am in the world. If you sit and look at the Ganges, to me it's like she carries light on her back. She just sparkles with light. And to me that's the light of consciousness. She is the story of Ganga. Can I share that?
Yes.
Just briefly.
Please.
So the whole world was hungry and thirsty, and there were all kinds of problems in the world. And people were calling out for help. And she saw the suffering of humankind, and she was ready to just jump from heaven. She is a princess who lived in heaven. Her mother and father were the kings and queens in heaven. And so she's up above, and she's looking down at all this suffering, and she just wants to jump in and help. But her father says, no, you're going to flood the world. You're so powerful, you will flood, and that won't help anything. So Shiva comes along, and Shiva's really pure consciousness. But as the archetype of this powerful man, he comes along and says, I will receive Ganga, and that will slow down her flow, and it will direct it into this river, and then she'll be able to help humanity with water, with refreshment, with the water to not just nourish yourselves and refresh and hydrate, but also to grow crops, etc. So water is life. So he receives her, and he's got these dreadlocks, so it slows her flow and it directs the flow. And what is that? Ganga is the flow of the nectar of the awakened mind. It relates to the cerebrospinal fluid that comes from the brain once our mind's been awakened. It's actually a fact. Scientifically, they've been able to test that this happens once you have an awakening. You change the chemistry, you could say, that flows from the brain through the blood. Dr. Bruce Lipton is here. He can speak to the biology of that even better, of course, than I can. But there is science to this.
Yes.
And so while Saraswati is said to be the river that flows up the spine to our awakened mind, this is said to be the ocean at the crown of the head, Ganga is the flow that comes from the awakened mind. So what is Shiva? awakened mind, consciousness. What is Ganga? That which flows throughout the body once we have that awakening. And so she's the grace. She's the flow of grace. And
I just
there's no problem there, right?
No problem there. And Laura, you embody that beauty and grace.
Oh, thank you, Sandra. You
I'm
do.
just amazed. Every time I see you, you carry this beautiful stillness. It's part of your presence, and it's reflected in your eyes.
Thank you.
It's really amazing to see. And so,
Thank you.
you reflect the divine feminine, and actually you've got the masculine feminine in balance. And I wondered if you could speak a little bit to that.
I learned when I was in my early 20s that when I was born, I was my mother's eldest. I'm the eldest in my family. And I learned that when I was born, she had asked, and it was written down, the doctor had put it in the notes, and everybody knew she did not want the drugs that they would give at the time. She wanted to be wide awake for this birth of her first child. So she goes into labor, she goes to the hospital, they take her into the delivery room, and the first thing they do is boom. And she's going, and as they're taking that, whatever you call that, mask basically, and as that's coming, she's just going, no, 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 no. Oh. And then she's unconscious for my birth. And then of course she doesn't wake up for another couple of hours. And she then said to me, she felt so sad to see that, I was in the arms of my father. Not that that was a problem, but that she had missed those first moments. And honestly, the minute I heard that, before I was a yogi, before anything, I just thought, that's why I'm alive. The purpose of my life is to give voice to the feminine.
Oh.
And talk about, now it makes me feel like I could cry. My mother is a very beautiful, powerful, and wise woman. And to have that voice at one of the most important moments of her life, just so silenced.
Yes.
When she's doing such a feminine thing,
yes,
this masculine system to just, boom, we don't want to hear from you. We're just going to get this baby out. Oh, it's a kind of violence in a way to shut down the voice of the feminine.
Yes.
And it's time now for us to wake that voice up. And it's up to women to do it.
Yes.
We have to recognize that it's an important voice, it's a necessary voice, it's the voice of life itself.
Yes.
And it's a voice of love. And love connects us one to the other. Love is the heart of who we are. Love is what is surrounding us all the time. Love made the universe. Love made this world. Love surrounds us in beauty. And we just need to recognize that love is who we are, and love is why we are. And it's really time, not just for yoga teachers to find their voice, not just for female leaders to find their voice, but every woman has a beautiful and important voice.
Yes.
And we have to respect it in ourselves, and we have to say to the world, I respect myself enough that I will only allow relationships of respect. And from there I will speak clear, true, and with love. And we were talking earlier, what's happening, what I see happening. Last October, 2016, I was traveling through India, and I didn't have much news of the world. But all of a sudden I did check in, and I just saw that there was it felt like agitation in America. And then I came to understand that there were some comments that had been made that were very, very public about women that were very disparaging. And a lot of women responded to that. One woman on Twitter said, tell me your stories.
Yes.
And then she said she couldn't even keep up with the sharing of these stories because they were coming in so fast and furious. Well, what I saw in that personally is that my own personal experience, what I've been living for the past year and a half, at that point for 1 year, what I had been, a kind of trauma that I had been living, went from being very personal and private to collective. I suddenly felt like, wow, what I've been living this past year and healing is everywhere.
It's universal. Right.
It's everywhere. And now, instead of just being very private about it, people are coming forth. And it isn't that because you had this experience you know more about it, or because you've had this experience you've suffered more, or because it's like we have all in many ways been disrespected. And we're all now saying, we are sisters.
Yes.
And we're going to love each other, and we're going to have compassion for each other, and we're going to listen to one another, and we're going to give voice to one another. And there's this collective rising of the feminine that is phenomenal to see. And it's because so many women for 10, 20, 50, 100 years, however long, 1,000 years, have been loving and respecting ourselves and one another. And drip by drip, drop by drop, one woman at a time, it's hit critical mass. And ever since last October, it's just been soaring.
Yeah.
And so when people look at the challenges in the world today, I would invite people to look at the good. We have found our voice.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, have we found our voice. We're standing together, we're marching together, we're hugging each other. It gives me tingles.
Yeah.
Women are rising and the divine feminine has awakened. And we get to be here bearing witness to it and contributing to it. It's exciting.
Given this incredible practice you do, I'm wondering if you have a word for viewers.
Yes.
You know, what would a call to action be? You know, whether it's with, you know, the way we treat ourselves, the way we relate to our community, our families, or the way we actually act on a global scale. What would you advise? What's your message to viewers?
Well, there's so many practices, and you know, there's yoga practices and Ayurvedic practices. I think that one of the things that's most important for women, because we are like a river. In other words, water is the giver of life, the sustainer, the nourisher. And as we are having children, raising families, taking care of our husbands or partners, and then so often working as well, and in our work environments, in our relationships, caring and taking care of so many. We have to take care of ourselves. And self-care is essential. Now, self-care in the Ayurvedic lexicon can be full body abhyanga in the morning, which is a full body massage with sesame oil. It can be taken in Epsom bath at night. It can be eating properly. But just one thing that a person can do, I think that is the most essential thing, is to take time for yourself. Take quiet time. And don't tell me you don't have time for it. Because
Then you need twice as much quiet.
as Paramahansa Yogananda said, if you don't have time to meditate, you need to meditate twice as much.
Yeah.
Right? Twice as long.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more essential. And why? Because the time for yourself is the time where you find yourself. You empower yourself. You quiet the distraction and the thoughts. And you don't just get into a quiet space, but you come into your heart. You come into the place of love, of truth. And it will give you more energy. It will give you more health. It will give you more radiance. It will give you more patience. It'll give you anything you want. It'll give you everything you're looking for. And all you need to do is take 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. If it's 5 minutes, do it in the morning and do it in the evening. If all you can find is 10 minutes, first thing in the morning when you wake up. I like to say to people, every hour on the hour, take a 3-minute break, do some deep breathing. Just become aware of your breath, expand the inhale, lengthen the exhale. Another thing I like to invite people to do is put your hands on your heart center. Allow your eyes to close. Bring your mind to your heart. This is your source. Not this. This should only reflect the source. This is the computer. So let it do the problem solving, but only let it express and problem solve what's here. So come from here. You can do this every hour on the hour, or you can do it before breakfast, before lunch, and before dinner. Feel what's in your heart, and just say to yourself, I am. I am. I'm not a beginning, I'm not an end, I'm not a direct object, I'm not an adjective, I don't have to put anything else into that sentence. I am. I am infinite, I am whole, I am eternal, I am spirit, I am fine, I am okay, I am healthy, I am whole, I am love. I am. That's a beautiful self-care practice.
That is a beautiful self-care practice.
It can be done anywhere, anytime. So no excuses.
No excuses.
And then when we recognize who we are, we recognize that as I am, you are. I love that Ubuntu, you know. Thanks to you and thanks to your example and thanks to the love that you are, I am too, and I see myself in you. And of course, once we have compassion, self-connection, then we're connected to the whole and to the all. And we love the whole and the all, and we love all the expressions of it. So we come back to caring for ourselves, that's the best way we can care for all. Truly.
And from that place of connection to self, we act in the world very differently.
Right, right.
We're not
right,
reactive.
Right.
That was just beautiful.
I believe in standing up. The Bhagavad Gita has this great line, Arjuna is asked to fulfill his dharma, and he doesn't want to. Finally, Krishna says, Arjuna, stand in your yoga and fight. And, what it means is stand it up, I think of Warrior 2. Stand open-hearted, fearlessly in the world, in your dharma, and do what you need to do with a brave sense of clarity and purpose. Do that. But do it with love. Do it from the heart. Don't do it from that, again, that idea of the myth of separation. I'm coming from a place of love and they're not. Forget that. Everybody at some place, seeks love, seeks to belong, wants to be a part of the whole, whether it looks to you or not.
Right.
Everyone is a child of creation, a child of the divine. So come from that place and seek to heal, seek to restore wholeness, seek to love. Try to shower people with love. The more that they agitate you, the more that they frustrate you, the more you get to pour love on them. That's our yoga.
It's a yoga practice.
Stand in the world, heart wide open, fearlessly, being a presence of love, no matter what. That's challenging, but that's what we're here to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.